Hi everybody, I'm Cade Brosky from Rustomod Garage on YouTube and the Rustomod Garage on Instagram. And this is our 1961 Rambler Station Wagon. This Rambler Station Wagon is actually on a Corvette suspension chassis. It's a custom fabricated chassis that we've made with C4 Corvette suspension. So around the engine bay, we have a bunch of aluminum panels that we tried to dress up the engine bay with for this show. They're coated with the sweet patina clear coat, and it made the panels pop really good. Our engine is coated with actually military paint, epoxy paint that we painted the entire engine and transmission with to try to match the roof color. And we tried to incorporate all the details of the original Rambler within the build that we're doing here. We didn't want to take away from the original car, but we wanted to try to accentuate all the details that we have. So on the accessories on the motor, we're running all ICT billet accessories. We're powder coated black. For the wheels and tires, these are actually aluminum wheels. They're not typical steely style wheels. We actually made these wheels ourselves. They're completely machined aluminum. We tried to leave the original paint as much as we could. So this is the original Rambler paint. It's a two-tone green. And we tried to make all the colors kind of match with the interior that we did on the Rambler. You can see the wheels. On the inside, we actually did a full cage. So when we built this car, we actually cut the entire firewall and floor out of the car. We built the whole cage and the chassis that we made, and then we basically just set the entire body on top of that chassis. And so we could get the cage really tight, so that allows you can get inside of it. Even though it's a four-door car, it's a lot more room than you would normally have in a regular full cage car if you weren't to build it the traditional way. In the back of the Rambler, we tried to do some really cool wheel tubs to try to match the front engine bay. So we have those aluminum wheel tubs that we handmade. Also have the interior is a boat decking, so it's not traditional like wood. It's actually foam from a boat. So it's waterproof, it's really weather resistant, and it's pretty tough. So we use that in a lot of our builds, and it's really nice to use it in the back of the Rambler. We have some compartments that lift up, and that way you can store a bunch of stuff inside. So the rear end in the car is an independent suspension from a Corvette. It's a Dana 44. It has after dark speed coilovers all the way around, and they're a big help with the car because we actually race this car, we autocross it, and we track race it. So the after dark coilovers allow us to be able to adjust the car for different track stuff. It's really nice to be able to have those, especially for C4 stuff. There's not a whole lot of aftermarket stuff out there, but they helped us out a ton with the build. So let me tell you about the motor. So the motor is actually just an LS1 aluminum block motor, and the transmission is a T56 six-speed transmission. It has Holley Terminator ECU running the whole thing. The valve covers we actually CNC machined, so they put our logo in it so we could try to match the original Rambler R logo with the rest of the car. So the front logo matches the valve cover, and that style is kind of what we tried to implement across the whole car. The original Rambler R is kind of similar to our Rustomod logo, so we tried to incorporate that into the valve covers. So just little details like that we wanted to pull from the original car and then implement it into the build. So let me show you the interior of the Rambler. We had created a custom center console for the car. So this is the boat decking material that we used, and we actually paint matched the original dash in the car to match the rest of the console. So that way it kind of ties in really nicely. It doesn't really look like an aftermarket console. So we tried to implement the oval vents with the round gauge that we have in the center from Speedhut. With the Speedhut icon gauge, we wanted to try to find a gauge that would fit the original oval shape of the Rambler gauge cluster. And we were looking everywhere to find them, and we finally found one at Speedhut, which was awesome, and it worked out really well. We ended up making a CNC bezel to try to surround the gauge to try to fill the gaps with the original Rambler and the icon gauge, and it worked out really nice. We actually have two buttons on the gauge so we can actually access our AC and our line lock in those two buttons. So it made it really nice. So the icon gauge is super awesome. It is GPS speedometer and all the stuff that we can actually do CAN bus hookup to the rest of the Holley harness. So that worked out really nice. We have all this stuff hooked up for the icon gauge. All the fuel system and all that stuff is really easy to hook up. Our fuel level all works really accurately. We drive this thing on Power Tour, so we have to have really accurate gauges, and it worked out really, really nice on Power Tour. I think the background really accents the interior colors really nice. That's pretty much the interior. The whole carpet is actually not carpet, it's really boat decking. So that's an adhesive backed foam boat decking. So it's pretty tough. It works really nice with water resistance because we actually drive this thing a lot. So we want to be able to clean it out really easily, and that's what we used on the inside. The shifter is actually a custom shifter from Imperial Shift Knobs, and we tried to match the whole colors and stuff with the interior, with the steering wheel and the boat decking and the leather seats, to try to implement all that stuff into the shift knobs. That worked out really cool. I think it matched the interior really well. All right, so that's the whole update on the Rambler. Thanks for checking out the build, and big thanks for Speedhut for helping us get to SEMA and the icon gauge that's in the car. It's a really nice piece to accent all the rest of the Rambler stuff that we did on this build. Make sure you follow us on YouTube at Rustomod on YouTube and the Rustomod on Instagram and Facebook. Thanks for watching.